When they returned to Mumbai, Rani Krishna launched the preparations needed to kick off the slum girl of India and the old man of Arabia. It was during this hectic time that Aphrodite Khan surprised her by asking her to be her real mother. Rani explained that she was already like her mother and friend. Aphrodite was quietly insistent, and when Rani saw the sincerity in her eyes, her defenses started to crumble. As a matter of fact, Rani harbored the same thought but never spoke of it because she did not want the girl to think that she was interested in her money. With such a heartfelt plea from the girl who was now the apple of her eye, Rani relented, and accepted. She explained to Aphrodite that if she wanted her to be her real mother, then she should allow her to adopt her as her daughter. Aphrodite was quick to welcome the suggestion. Before Rani explained the concept of adoption, Aphrodite had never heard of it before. By the way, adoption is illegal in Islam. It had been abolished by the Quran, when the alleged prophet of God lusted after the wife of his adopted son and took her from him and married her. It is a long story and we have already discussed it in details in the foregoing chapters. Accordingly, shortly after their return from abroad, the Hindu woman, Rani Krishna, adopted the Muslim girl, Aphrodite Khan, as her legal daughter. Even so, none of the two had changed her religion. In actual fact, neither Rani Krishna nor Aphrodite Khan was a strict adherent to her respective religion. Nevertheless, Aphrodite decided to change her name officially from Ifat Khan to Aphrodite Khan, which Rani did not like the idea of her changing her name because she was worried it might create some legal problems in the future. Aphrodite insisted on changing her name because her old name always reminded her of her bitter experience in the hands of her deceased Saudi husband. In fact, Aphrodite hid from Rani the real reason she wanted to change her name. She hated her real name because it always reminded her of her Muslim mother. She abhorred her old name because from an early age, she was made to believe that her biological mother had done something very bad which led the Islamic court in Jeddah to stone her to death. The old evil man made her believe that her mother was a prostitute and had slept with 3 men in less than 10 days. Wherefore, Aphrodite grew up with the belief that her mother used to work as a prostitute in Jeddah. She believed that it was her mother who took her from India to Saudi Arabia, where she fell victim into the hands of the ruthless and evil old man. Aphrodite also blamed her mother for forsaking her grandmother and brothers and traveling overseas, leaving them without money or anyone to support them. She still remembered that she used to live in a slum with her mother, grandparents, and 5 brothers. She knew that she was the eldest in her family. She also remembered how her father had killed himself. She concluded that her brothers either starved to death or ran away from their slum and became beggars in the streets of Mumbai. For that reason, she decided to disassociate herself from her deceased mother. The name Ifat in her memory was associated with misery and abuse. For her, Ifat Khan was the girl that was buried inside a black burqa and abused for many years. Although the name Aphrodite Khan was created by her Indian captor, still she loved it because it freed her from her ugly Islamic cocoon and revealed her beauty and charm to the outside world. After officially changing her name at the statistics department from Ifat to Aphrodite, Rani Krishna started proceedings in the court and adopted her legally as her own daughter. Consequently, the new lawful name of the Iranian heroine became Aphrodite Krishna Khan. It was the second strange configuration of a name in Bollywood after the late hero Samir Krishna Khan. After changing her name and adopting her legally as her daughter, Rani Krishna decided to throw a big party and invite all the film stars, directors, producers, and other VIPs in Mumbai. Of course, the first person included in the invitation list was the manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank, who dug out the hidden treasure of Aphrodite Khan and handed it over to her on a silver platter. For the party, Rani booked the biggest dining and dancing hall in Mumbai. That meant only one place, the 5-star hotel, Leela. As expected, the cream of crop was invited. Even top officials representing the government of Maharashtra received invitation cards. Rani Krishna invited practically everyone she knew. The main reason of the party was to announce the completion of the script of a very important movie based on a true life story of a 7-year-old Indian slum girl. The movie would be directed by Rani Krishna and the lead held by the Iranian heroine, Aphrodite Khan. The party was a totally new experience for Aphrodite Khan. She had never before been among such a huge gathering of Indians from the upper crust of society. She could not believe that in India there were people like she saw at the party. They surpassed the opulence of the guests at the five-star hotels she saw in Zurich, London, and Paris. The women appeared to her in their expensive dresses and costly ornaments as angelic creatures descended from heaven, and the men looked like sublime beings from another planet. She could not believe those beautiful people were Indians living in the filthy and polluted city of Mumbai. If any one of the guests had told her that they lived on the moon and sometimes descended down to earth to act in Bollywood films, she would have swallowed the story hook, line, and sinker. If any of those angelic women had confessed to being a virgin of paradise and that she didn't defecate, urinate, or menstruate like earthlings, Aphrodite would have believed that too. Every other girl looked more beautiful and delicate than the previous. She also could not believe that the women she saw in the streets every day in Mumbai were Indians also. She saw them with their backs bent pouring asphalt on the roads, constructing tall buildings with heavy buckets of cement tottering on their heads, balanced atop rickety scaffolds with suckling babies strapped to their backs. They were Indians too. In her visits overseas, Aphrodite had never seen such a huge social gap between the have and the have-nots. She asked herself if the untouchable women from the slums of Mumbai and the unreachable women of Bollywood knew or saw each other. She doubted it. She remembered that when she used to live in what amounted to a pig pen, she had never known or seen those fine Indian ladies even in the movie theaters. At that time, her mother was working like a slave to provide for her 6 children and 4 parents, simple meals of lentils and rice. In those days, her mother could not afford to take them to the hospital if they fell sick, much less buy toys or take them to the movie theater. As a child, she had never even heard of movie theaters, or Bollywood. The contrast between the Indians of Bollywood and the Indians of the slums reminded Aphrodite Khan of her noble dream to build a huge building and provide shelter for the homeless children on the streets of Mumbai. There were many extraordinary things noticed by Aphrodite during the party apart from the apparent contrast in the two societies she connected with. She noticed that she was avoided and ignored by many of the guests. Most of the guests liked to talk to Rani, but not to her. Rani told her that it was because she was new and not yet well known among Bollywood circles. Nonetheless, Rani knew the reason, but decided to keep it from Aphrodite. Firstly, Rani knew that most of the Bollywood people knew that Aphrodite was a slum girl and hence treated her as an untouchable. Many of them believed that it was below their dignity to associate or talk to a girl who was born and brought up in a slum area. Secondly, Rani heard some gossip that Aphrodite was considered to be a prostitute who used her beauty to make money while she was in jail. Some of them believed that her disgraceful acts in prison brought great shame and disrepute to the institution of Bollywood. The other reason, one that even Rani failed to realize, was that most of the film actresses and superstars of Bollywood were simply jealous and envious of her daughter's unmatched beauty. That day, Aphrodite appeared in her very expensive, European dress shining like the sun, and twinkling like the stars. The only one who praised her beauty was the starstruck manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank. During the grand gala, none of the actors asked her for a dance and she remained seated as if she was an unwanted guest at the party thrown in her honor. After the guests went through a sumptuous banquet, Rani Krishna brought Aphrodite Khan to center stage and officially announced her adoption. She also went on record to say that she had finished the script of her upcoming movie and would begin shooting shortly. Rani capped her speech by announcing that Aphrodite Khan was going to act out her own life story in the movie, which would be called, The Slum Girl of India and the Old Man of Arabia. Out of formality and courtesy, the guests clapped their hands after every announcement. Nevertheless, in their minds, all of them concluded that the movie was going to be a big flop for many reasons. Firstly, the directors of Bollywood had long ago stopped making sad movies based on the miserable lives of Indians in the slums and shawls, and opted for happier, more cheerful movies based on successful Indians, or Indians who left India, immigrated to the West and became rich, making great fortunes. Most of the recent movies out of Bollywood were shot in the USA, Canada, Australia, or European cities. According to the new philosophy of Bollywood, poor Indians did not like to go to the movie theaters to see sad stories, which reminded them of their stark misery and blatant failure in life. Indians loved to watch movies as though it was their last meal. Fantasy-filled fairy tales full of beautiful people, vanquishing the ugly and the wicked, concluding in happy endings were preferred, replete with musicals. Secondly, the muted applause of the party-goers was because the Iranian heroine was stinking with shame from being a Bollywood high-profile prostitute while in jail, making her a very unlikely candidate for a leading role. Thirdly, the Indian youth did not like a heroine who was known to be used by many men from childhood. Indian men like their heroines virginal and unmarried. Many Indian heroines lost half of their young fans as soon as they got married. Aphrodite Khan was married when she was 7 years old and remained under the control of sexual predators until very recently. Fourth, Rani Krishna was known for several unpopular and unsuccessful movies. She did not pay her actors well, and she could not attract the right kind of talent required for a bona fide Indian blockbuster. Fifth, no financier worth his salt was going to risk his money financing a movie directed by a second-rate movie director. Taking all these factors into consideration, the Bollywood guests concluded that the movie was going to go belly up and its projected revenue would not even cover the cost of production. The only guest who praised Aphrodite Khan and spoke well of her was the manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank. As soon as he came in, he shook her hand and exclaimed, "You are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen in my life." When Rani Krishna announced that she had adopted Ifat as her daughter, he approached them and discreetly suggested that Aphrodite should enter the Miss World Beauty contest. Rani thanked him and dismissed his suggestion as wishful thinking coming from a man who liked to say good things to people. She did not take his advice seriously. She knew that for an Indian girl to enter the Miss World contest, she had to first win the smaller regional competitions in the itself city and the district. Aphrodite would then have to win the Miss Mumbai contest. After that, she had to go head-to-head with the winners of the beauty contests of over 300 main cities in India. Then, and only then, could Aphrodite step out of the boundary of her country to compete with the hundreds of winners of beauty contests from all over the world. The Miss World should not only be beautiful and possess a sexy, fabulous body, but she had to be smart and know a great deal about the outside world and world politics and have as a platform, a noble cause. It was an unattainable goal for a girl like Aphrodite who was born in a slum and lived most of her life in misery and abuse without the benefit of schooling. In addition to all these obstacles, Rani was interested in making the movie of Ifat Khan and her life, hence Aphrodite involving herself in a cutthroat beauty contest for months on end would delay its production indefinitely. Nevertheless, the idea stuck in Aphrodite's mind and she began to seriously consider competing. From the time she heard the suggestion from the bank manager, she started to nag and harass her mother about it. Aphrodite was like a small child when she sees a beautiful doll, would not stop crying over it until her mother bought it for her. Her Hindu mother tried to convince her that it would be impossible for her to become Miss World. She gave her hundreds of reasons that would stand in her way of achieving such a competitive title. Whatever her mother told her, she did not turn her away from the idea or change her mind. Her mind became obsessed and fascinated with the idea that the bank manager had planted in her head. Rani regretted inviting the crazy Arab to the party. When Aphrodite refused to forego her ambitions, her mother tried to convince her that her movie was going to produce a nobler message to the world than being Miss World. Aphrodite became very adamant and insisted that the production of the movie should be postponed until she competed in Miss World. When nothing she said could change her mind, her mother reluctantly backed down and promised to register her in the Miss Mumbai beauty contest. But, she explained to her that if she failed to win the Miss Mumbai title, then she would not be allowed to go any further in the competition, and that would be the end of that chapter. Aphrodite told her mother that the bank manager said she was the most beautiful girl in the world and that she must try out for Miss World. For that reason, she tried to assure her mother that she would win Miss Mumbai and reach her final goal. In Bollywood, people believed that winning Miss Mumbai would be more difficult than winning Miss India. Moreover, some would go further and simply state that winning Miss Mumbai would mean automatically becoming Miss India, as if there weren't beautiful girls in all of India. Of course, such beliefs didn't always ring true. It was grounded in the pride and arrogance of Bollywood film stars and producers who somehow think that Mumbai wasn't a part of India, but a separate entity and a city of the Western world. With her daughter's will set in concrete, Rani agreed to allow her most treasured and adorable daughter and future great heroine to join the beauty contest for Miss Mumbai. The beauty contests of Mumbai are conducted much like the American Idol series. The only difference was that in the Indian beauty contest the contenders had to pay fees to cover their expenses incurred staying at the 5-star hotels holding the pageants. Poor girls were out of the question because their social and financial conditions would exempt them. Beautiful poor girls, if present, could only compete among themselves to win middle-class husbands or NIR partners. It is part of the Indian psyche not to associate beauty and poverty. In Iffat's case, divine providence had elevated her from her slum girl roots to the Aphrodite of Bollywood. She therefore would qualify. Like a presidential candidate running for the US presidency, the beauty contest usually begin at the caucus levels. Girls of the same high school would compete among themselves first. Bollywood's newest beauties also would compete together. Sometimes, girls of one club or the same locality might compete against each other. If a girl was confident she would be allowed to compete in the final competition directly, she would just need to fill out the necessary forms and pay an exorbitant fee. The normal mode, for most of the contestants, is by way of the caucus method. This system absorbed the cost of the forms and hotel fees because each group would make a substantial amount of money organizing the competitions. People are happy to contribute just to be able to gawk and ogle at a gathering of young, nubile, half-naked women on stage, under the guise of competition. Finally, the girls would have to appear before a qualified judicial committee, and here the competition would simply become ruthless. Out of hundreds of young, very pretty girls, the committee had to pick out only one extraordinary beautiful girl. The selection wasn't done in one single day. Over 3 days, half of the 400 or so contestants would be ejected. The remaining 200 would be pared down to 100 girls, and so on. Every night, there was weeping and gnashing of the teeth at the ITC Maratha Hotel. Those disqualified would feel as if their lives had come to an end. Therefore, the presence of parents and friends to lend emotional support was very important. Suicides were not uncommon. Eventually the 400 contestants would be shaved down to a mere 25 competitors. From day one, Rani expected that her little girl would be sent home with a one-way ticket. Imagine her surprise when the slum girl made it to the 25 finalists. With the selection of the 25 hopefuls, the committee announced a 1-week break. There were many reasons for the interruption in festivities. The most important was that the media would make a lot of money during that week, and the committee would get its share in every newspaper, magazine, and TV channel covering the important event. Besides that, the committee would raise huge amounts of money from SMS messages. Every girl, among the lucky 25 contestants, would be assigned a number. Every person was required to send a SMS message and predict the outcome of the Miss Mumbai pageant. Gondas would run illegal gambling groups, and the winner would get at least 1 crore of rupees. Sometimes, if the group reached 1 million gamblers, then the winner might get 5 crores. The Gondas would give the winner 5 crores and keep 5 crores for themselves. For a girl to even be able to enter the Miss Mumbai contest was a considerable honor. With those credentials, she could enter Bollywood or get a modeling contract and make a lot of money. What is more, a girl could get a very nice bridegroom because once upon a time, she was a Miss Mumbai participant, or she could get a visa to go abroad on the same grounds. In some cases, the girl might utilize her participation in Miss Mumbai in an unscrupulous way. It happened that once an Indian girl was caught in a hotel room with a wealthy Arab man. The Arab man had paid her thousands of dollars for spending one night with him because she competed as Miss Bombay. There was a time when the city was called Bombay. During the one-week break, the hottest topic in the media was the slum girl among the 25 finalists. She was a record of sorts, because it had never happened before nor was it likely to ever happen again. It was inconceivable that a slum girl had dared to come out of her doghouse and challenge the high castes and rich girls of Mumbai, and even defy the beauties of Bollywood. Miss Mumbai was always won by a girl of the higher caste societies. A slum girl winning Miss Mumbai would be like the moment Barack Hussein Obama was announced as the first black US president. Some journalists and critics said that if the slum mire types tried their hand at the title of Miss Mumbai, they should be accorded more honor than Barack Hussein Obama, who was portrayed as a black American. According to them, he was half white and half black, and half Christian and half Muslim. That rare combination probably helped Obama win the presidential election in the USA. The Mumbai slum girl, on the other hand, is 100% slum dweller, born of slum parents, from the same religious background. This scything observation might be lost to our Western readers, but in Ifat's case, her Muslim parents belonged to the untouchable caste of Muslim Arzal, who were forbidden to enter a mosque or touch the Quran. By the way, according to Dr. Ambedkar, the father of the Indian constitution, Muslims in India have a caste system, which is worse than that of the Hindus. If the slum girl won the beauty contest, she would make 3 records: 1, the first slum girl to be crowned Miss Mumbai; 2, the first Muslim girl to win the contest in Mumbai; and 3, the first low-caste Muslim girl to get that honorable title. The former Muslim girl who became Miss Asia, Zeenat Aman, came in at number 3 in the Miss Mumbai beauty pageant. So far, no Muslim girl had ever won Miss Mumbai or Miss India. As it was expected, some disgruntled Muslim clerics threatened to issue fatwas condemning the impostor, Aphrodite Krishna Khan. They said that she was a liar and an abomination. According to them, how can a Muslim girl have a Christian name, her middle name Hindu, and her last name Muslim? For them, no true Muslim family would ever do such a thing as give their child the name of a Greek goddess, a Hindu god with a Muslim name. For that reason, they concluded that she was either a Christian or a Hindu. They thought that she pretended to be a Muslim girl in order to marry a wealthy Saudi and receive a huge dowry in marriage and inheritance. All the religious clerics urged Muslims all over Mumbai not to stand with her or support her with their SMS votes. Officially, that would have been the end of it for Aphrodite Krishna Khan, but young Muslim boys and girls didn't see it that way. They wanted Aphrodite Khan to win the beauty contest and be the first Muslim girl crowned Miss Mumbai. On the final day, only the very rich and the Bollywood film stars were able to purchase tickets to attend the final contest. 2 former Miss Universe and 2 former Miss World of India were added to be judging panel. This raised public concern because all 4 were Hindus. The original lineup of the judges were an even combination of Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and Christians. Adding 4 more Hindu judges at such a critical time might create a lack of equilibrium. Besides, many critics argued that a woman, despite being a former Miss World or Miss Universe, was simply not qualified to judge beauty in others. Nevertheless, the committee refused to remove the 4 new judges. The contestant pool comprised 20 Hindus, 2 Christians, a Sikh, a Parsi and a Muslim. The 25 girls were supposed to walk onto the stage one after another in their swimsuits. Every judge was required to rank each girl according to a scale from 1 to 10. The higher the number, the better. This first round would eliminate all but 5 girls. Then, each girl would be judged on the basis of her beauty, figure, and intelligence. The intelligence test would consist of an interview question asked by one of the judges. The same judge would ask each girl a question that would be chosen at random. Anyway, when the first round was over, the highest marks went to the Parsi girl, followed by the Christian girl, next to her came the Muslim girl, after that the Sikh girl, and last the Hindu girl. The 5 girls chosen according to their rank, beginning from the highest to the lowest, were a Parsi, a Christian, a Muslim, a Sikh, and a Hindu. People of Mumbai were shocked when it appeared that the 5 finalists had different religious faiths. The government of Maharashtra placed huge screen TVs in each chawl area and each slum area. The poor and the poorest of the poor who could not afford to watch the contest in their houses due to lack of electricity, and those who did not have TVs were encouraged to go to the public parks and open areas and watch it on the government-sponsored TV screens. When the slum girl, Aphrodite Krishnakhan, made it as a finalist, spirited shouting and clapping erupted in all the areas designated for watching. The Parsi girl was a shoo-in as far as the spectators were concerned. She was definitely going to get the crown. Whispers abounded about how the Parsi girl was as lovely as a china doll and as beautiful as an angel. She had foreign eyes. Her skin was fair like a princess in a fairy tale. She had very long hair. She had all the criteria a beauty queen could ever possess in all of Hollywood and Bollywood combined. She had a very beautiful face and a lithesome body. A former Miss World, Bollywood heroine and celebrity superstar by the name of Aishwarya Rai, giving her a rank and grade of 10, asked her, "Were you created by God or did you create yourself?" In the face of such distinguished praise, everybody said that she was going to win it that night. Rani Krishna was well pleased with the level and success at what her slum daughter had achieved. She said to herself, even if they would give her a mark of 5, she would greatly rejoice at what she was able to accomplish. She never expected her to make it to the final 5 most beautiful girls in Mumbai. Such an achievement would have made her movie much more welcomed by the public. When the 5 girls were carefully screened and scrutinized in the last round, the marks changed. The Parsi girl still held the highest marks in terms of her face and figure. The new order according to the measurement of the face and the figure was changed to the Parsi, the Muslim, the Hindu, the Sikh, and the Christian girl. The first 2 finalists were separated by 2 marks only. For the Muslim girl to win, she had to score a higher score on the intelligence test. No one knew that Aphrodite Khan had never been to school in all her life except for her Hindu mother. Understandably, Rani expected that her poor slum child wasn't going to make it through the last round. Oh! But to have come this far! How she shouted and jumped when the results were announced. She praised her daughter for taking second place in the last round, scoring high in physical beauty and appearance. The poor and the poorest of the poor from the shawls, the slums, and the railways shacks had already celebrated the victory of their once upon a time Akka dweller. They decided not to bother about the question and answer session testing intelligence because none of them understood what it was all about. The interview is moderated and scored by a group of 3 judges. Each judge would rate the answer given on a scale from 1 to 5. Then, the cumulative marks out of a possible 15 will then be added to the marks scored in the previous rounds. The total would then determine the next Miss Mumbai. The 5 girls were allowed to come and listen to the questions and the answers. The first girl, randomly chosen, was the Christian girl. Her question was also randomly chosen. It had to do with modern Indian history. She gave her answer and the last round judges jotted down her name and her marks. The next name drawn was the Parsi girl. She was asked what would she do to make a difference in the world if she became Miss World. She said that she would strive hard to stop people from killing each other. The 3 final round judges entered their marks. The third girl was the Sikh. She was asked a question about world geography. She gave her answer too. The 4th girl happened to be the Hindu. She was asked what she would do if she became Miss World to improve the status of women in the world. She said that she would call for equal treatment and equal opportunity for females all over the world. The last girl who did not need to be picked at random was Aphrodite Krishna Khan. The only question left would be hers. It read, "What would you do for the poor children living in the streets and the slums of Mumbai if you happened to be Miss World?" The judges, audience, and everyone else were shocked and also mad at the same time. Many people felt that the judging committee had deliberately insulted the slum girl by reminding her of her past. Oddly, the slum girl did not look a bit in the least insulted. She looked excited and happy to hear her particular question. She faced the judges with her head and chest held high. "I have already started to build the biggest building in Mumbai and I am going to accommodate in it as many poor children of the slum areas as possible and from the streets of Mumbai. I am going to feed and educate them too." The judges laughed when they heard her childish answer. One of the judges told her boldly that by lying she would automatically mark herself down. The slum girl stood her ground and challenged the judge, "I am absolutely serious. I am not lying and my mother will be able to vouch for me. She holds the papers to the building which is now under construction. You need tens of crores of rupees to build such a huge building. I have more than 400 crores in my account. You are not yet 20 years old and you claim to have 400 crores. Yes, I do. Only in your dreams. I'm afraid you have a very active imagination," said the judge sarcastically. "Why don't you believe me? I did not enter this competition for Miss Mumbai lightly. I consider this position and title a very serious matter and I would not say something I didn't mean. I also dislike the way you are speaking down to me and accusing me of lying. Just because I was born and brought up in a slum does not mean we can't accomplish things in life or have money." The judge ignored the slum girl and with a flourish picked up her pen. She was just about to give her a mark of 0 for lying. Before she could enter her score, she heard the voice of a man shouting in the audience, "Wait a minute please before you judge her adversely. She isn't lying. I am the manager of the Abu Dhabi International Bank. I can testify that Aphrodite Khan has over 400 crores of Indian rupees in our bank. I am ready to provide a bank balance statement if the committee would give me time to go to the bank and bring it right away." The audience and the judges were astonished by what the Arab man had said. None of them believed a word from what he had spoken concerning the slum girl. They figured he was a supporter planted in the audience. Rani Krishna had chosen to stay silent all this time because she did not want to disclose her daughter's finances in public. India's government would probably levy huge taxes against her given that they had some of the highest taxes in the world. When the bank manager came forward and tried to defend her daughter, her silence was challenged. Nonetheless, she stood up and shouted, "Yes, my daughter has over 400 crores of rupees in her account. She has already started the construction of a big building, which is going to house more than 15,000 homeless children and their families in Mumbai. Here is a business card for the construction company that won the bid for the structure, and the project has already been approved by the government of Maharashtra. I have a copy of the official building permit right here. And I have a checkbook here with her name, Aphrodite Krishna Khan, and the account number if you need verification. She has over 400 crores in her account." As she spoke, she purposefully made her way to the stage. Rani Krishna thrust the building permit on the table in front of the 3 judges, and then she allowed the cameras to zoom in on the documents. The voice of the bank manager was heard again over the murmuring crowd. "And what is more, Aphrodite Khan has 3 huge mansions in Saudi Arabia, 1 villa in Eritrea, and 1 villa in Iran. She also has a 15-story building in her name in the city of Jeddah. Our bank also has official documents for her building currently valued at $55 million. In Indian rupees her building has a market value equals to 24 crores and 75 lakhs. Guys, believe me, this Aphrodite Khan is the richest young Indian girl in all of India." A dead silence ensued. One could hear the drop of a pin when the bank manager spoke those last words. Rani lifted the documents up high and challenged the murmuring crowd. If anyone still believes that my daughter is lying, let him come to me and I will show him these official documents. The first one to overcome the shock of these testimonies was the judge who made fun of the former slum girl. She stood on her feet and went to the slum girl and embraced her and began to cry and ask her forgiveness for misjudging her. She then went back to her chair and took out her pen and jotted down her grade on the score pad and remained quiet. The other two judges came slowly out of their shell-shocked facades, tried to comprehend the scale and the implication of what had just been shown to them, and meekly wrote down their marks too. By then, Ronnie had unobtrusively returned to her seat and likewise the bank manager. Then, another judge came and collected the results of the IQ test. When the results were announced, the low-caste Muslim slum girl obtained perfect marks of 15 out of 15. Then, the final result was announced beginning from number 5 first. Number 5 is Annie D'Souza, the Christian girl. Number 4 is Simran Singh, the Sikh girl. Number 3 is Divya Rajkumar, the Hindu girl. The announcer paused and looked for some time at the Parsi girl and the slum girl. This was her moment, and as with all masters of ceremonies, she was going for maximum effect. The hearts of both girls began to beat fast. The audience held their breath. The poor and the poorest of the poor stood on their feet. Everyone knew that the time was now or never, whether the history of India was going to change that day or it would never. If the slum girl made number 1 fairest of all, the city of Mumbai and the entire Indian nation was going to change. The master of ceremonies turned to the two remaining contestants and said, "You two girls are very beautiful." It was doubly hard for the judges to pick a winner. If it was possible, we would have crowned you both Miss Mumbai this evening. Alas, that is not to be, and tonight, it is my honor to present the first runner-up, Miss Faraniz Palanji, the Parsi girl. She did not have to say anything more. At the stage and around India the crowd erupted in chaotic applause. In the slums and shawls, the poor and destitute threw themselves at each other and began to cry, laugh, weep, and babble uncontrollably. "The winner of Miss Mumbai tonight is Aphrodite Krishna Khan," shouted the announcer to no one in particular. No one bothered to hear the obvious result, and the only pause and roar of the cheering crowd was when last year's incumbent, Miss Mumbai, historically placed the crown on the very first slum girl to win Miss Mumbai.